My name is Graham Elwood, and you're watching The Political Vigilante. I'm here with the host of the Dollop podcast, Dave Anthony. We've just been talking about the insanity of forcing kids open into school districts and the collapse of capitalism, the collapse of America at the behest of toxic capitalism.
I should say that we're fortunate because other school districts in like Florida and whatever else, Missouri, like they're just opening and there's no masks. They don't. It's just fucked.
It's insane. It's insane. I don't want to live in a crazy country anymore. I don't want to live in an insane society. I just can't do it. Like I grew up in an alcoholic home. I'm not going to live in a country that's worse. I'm just not like a bigger, crazier, more gun version. I'm not going to do it. But I wanted to talk to you about this new stimulus plan. That they're all touting it, and everybody on this is what is so insane and stupid about our corporate media. So obviously the neoliberal side, MSNBC, CNN, is talking about how this is great and it's rescuing poor people. And then Fox's criticism of it isn't even a good their criticism is stupid. Yeah. is in the parameter of these two stupid parties. And so there's all this shit in this thing. Like I had Justin Jackson on the show yesterday, and he was like, first of all, he's great. He's fantastic. I mean, the guy is 25, 26. He's an NFL player, and he's like sharp, gets it, and it's fantastic to listen to the guy. But he pointed out, we were talking about this yesterday, no $15 an hour minimum wage, which we could have. Mm-hmm. Student debt forgiveness could be in there. Joe Biden doesn't even need a bill for that. He could just do that through executive order. Yeah. I don't know. Most people understand this. 85% of all student loans are federal. So that he doesn't need Congress for that. He can literally through executive order, gone, take that off and infuse trillions of dollars into the economy by a bunch of people not having to make monthly payments anymore. He could give us all Medicare for all through executive order because we are in the middle of a national emergency.
That's right.
There's that city, I forget, in Montana or wherever that had a crisis, and they gave everybody free healthcare because there was like a water spill or something. There was contaminated water. And he could do that on a national level. And in this thing, they're saying, oh, it's lifting people out of poverty. My two questions on this. Well, first of all, it isn't, and we'll get into that in a sec, but it's not. So you're lying. But let's say it was. Oh, so you could have done this whole time? Well, so now we get everyone. So we could have fixed poverty a long time ago, but just now we did it.
And that's really the grotesque part of it, is that everyone who's getting money now is going to be like, why haven't I gotten money all the time? Why have I been living like this? What exactly is it that I have to live in squalor and just check to check and moment to moment, when you could have helped me out a long time ago? Mm-hmm. But the other thing is like, if I have a house and I'm trying to get by, and I'm a renter, and I got a couple of kids, and I really need a better job, and I don't need to pay as much for healthcare. I do not need to pay what I'm paying, and then I have my school loans, right? Mm-hmm. If you give me $5,000, that doesn't take care of any of those problems.
No.
I still have a job that doesn't pay enough. I still am paying too much for medical care that doesn't work that well. And I still have my student loans. Systematically, you've done nothing to change my life at all. You've just given me a check, and that's not a program. You can't say that Biden eliminated poverty. He didn't eliminate anything. It's a temporary Band-Aid for poverty. He just threw money at people for a few months, and then that's it. And then everything goes back to normal. And do people remember FDR? They're acting like Biden's done this amazing thing that no one's done before. Well, that's not what FDR did. He put people back to fucking work, and he created programs to help people for the long term.
Jobs. He literally created whole new industries and put people at work, like building the WPA theaters. Like part of that, like I did that FNX show that I directed was in one of those. It's beautiful. There's ornate tapestries. So he put artists and architects and construction people, and then for a thing that's for the arts, that's good for society. There's no new jobs. Biden didn't create any new jobs. He's not putting it. There's no jobs program. Obama didn't have one. Trump didn't have one. No one has a new jobs program. Where the fuck is it? It's maddening to me, because it's like that. This is the biggest tax break parents have gotten. Okay, but it's only 1 year. They're not. I mean, so are they extending it? Doubtful. Even if they do, what about me? I don't have kids. I don't.
Right.
Get this.
I know.
Where's my break?
Yeah,
what do I get?
People with kids are getting a ton of money, and I'm just thinking, like, well, everybody. Most of the young people who are really fucked right now, and what are they don't have. Most of them don't have kids. Like, what are you doing? It was such a weird thing to put out there that, like, we're just going to throw all this money at people with kids, and it's like, there's a lot of other fucking people out there that are having a hard time. Why is it just people with kids?
And if you want to help families so much, you want to get people out of poverty, $15 an hour. They couldn't even do that. You know how many people's lives you would drastically change in states where the minimum wage is $7 an hour and the cost of living isn't as bad as it is in California or New York or whatever. That would drastically change somebody's life.
Yeah, and also it's shit. It should be 25. It's fucking 15 is bullshit. I mean, that's just like the worst compromise of all time. It should be 25. It's just fucking nonsense. So yeah, they did absolutely nothing, and it's kicking the can down the road. That's all that's been happening this entire pandemic. They're kicking the can down the road. They're not addressing the rent situation, which is fucking massive. People are going to get these checks, and they're going to do what with it? I mean, the Democrats put out this little video of what people are going to do, and almost every person was like, I'm going to pay off some of my debt. It's like, what the fuck is that? I'm going to pay off some of my fucking debt. Do you know how stupid that sounds?
That's not changing anybody's lives. And the unemployment ends in September, according to this bill. And look, if everything kind of opens up the way they're saying if these vaccine rollout, like we said, the one thing Biden has done correctly is getting more vaccines. So if everyone's, and the economy's open and blah, 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 that's the plan, is then, hey, we're done with stimulus and you got to just like figure it out. And then what? And there's no rent forgiveness. And so you've got renters, and then you've got people who just had to put a forbearance on their home, like they couldn't afford their mortgage, or even just everyone's like all mad at all landlords. And I got to say, you can't be some landlords are small business owners. Like they just own a rental property, and now they can't afford the mortgage because their renters aren't working. And so they've lost all these revenue streams, and all they've done is gone to their banks and given a forbearance, which just, they don't have to pay make the payments, but the interest, it all adds up. And okay, yeah, they're going to restructure the loan, but I'm sorry, if your mortgage payment was, let's say, $1,200, and they just restructure the loan and you don't have to make back payments, the new payment's going to be $1,500, $1,600, something like that when they recalculate it. So it's still not going to help you. You're still going to be making bigger payments. That's the best case scenario. Not to mention your property tax has gone up. They might just go, here's a long-term interest pay. Like they've kicked this can down the road. Right now, there's a housing shortage of people haven't put their houses up for sale because of COVID, because they don't want to have people in their home, whatever. Well, when the stimulus runs out, and when there's a glut of homes and people start selling stuff like that and prices come down or whatever, or the forbearance comes due, or because there isn't rent forgiveness, then people are just going to go, I got to sell my home so I don't foreclose. And then there's going to be a glut. And then what? Yeah. Like there's going to be a housing collapse. The commercial real estate. I mean, think of all these big offices where everybody's been working from home for 12 months. All these big companies are like, why are we paying this exorbitant rent? You know, maybe we'll have people come back. We'll get a smaller office space. People will come back 1 or 2 days a week. Some people like work. I mean, but like the big office is going to be buzzing again. No way.
No, it's done. Like no, there's no big offices anymore. You don't need them.
No.
And so that you're right. That's a huge part of the economy. Like commercial real estate is fucking massive. And yeah, I mean, the due date's coming on all this shit, and I don't know what they did for it. Like all these, I just remember the next day I went online and I was like, well, they didn't pass all this stuff that's really needed. And then you just see all these people tweeting and yelling about how great it is and how it's going to change the world. And it's just like, yeah, no,
You
They're
guys,
not even suckers. It's propaganda. They're, like you said, they're all just loving Biden, and whatever Biden does can be no wrong. And it's like, no, they didn't get the minimum fucking wage, which was already shit. $15 is fucking shit. He's not going to do anything about student loans, which is, there have been studies that have shown that it would be better for the economy by far to wipe out the student loans. It helps the economy. It helps everything.
mm-hmm.
And just the fact that they're just in the pockets, man. They just don't give a shit about anybody. It's like that Cobra shit that they did.
Oh God.
Instead of giving us Medicare for all, they're like, everybody can have Cobra. And you're like, Cobra's the worst thing ever.
Ever.
It's the worst.
Oh, great. You get to double or triple your insurance costs. Awesome. Like, and I got to make copays, and there's going to be all the shit that's not covered. I remember the first time I got Cobra, when like I had health insurance through the Actors Union and it expired, and they're like, but you could do Cobra. And it was like $500 a month. I'm like,
yeah. Now, if the last I checked, if my insurance runs out for my family of 3, it's like $2,300 a month.
That's doable in a pandemic. Totally doable. I mean, like,
it's like fucking rent.
I know.
If even that, like, it's crazy.
And like, if this bill did student debt forgiveness, $15 an hour, and Medicare for all, then you could go. And I would be the first to say, I don't like Biden. You and we don't like Biden. I would say, well, I'll give them credit. They passed these. I guess enough people pressured them to pass these 3 things, which these are life-changing things. These will make everybody's lives in America better. This is something we can point to 5-10 years from now and go, and I'll be the first to say, I didn't like Biden. I didn't vote for him. There's a lot of awful shit, but he gave us this, and this. And that helped the economy, but they didn't do it. And they waited 3 weeks to give us this $1,400 and a month to give us this $1,400. It's like, I mean, I'm going to buy fucking Bitcoin with that $1,400 personally.
Which just, it's fucked up, because when all these news people come out and say how much this is changing things and how great it is and how all these people are going to be out of poverty, it really sets people up. And then when the fucking other shoe drops and they're like, wait, now there's nothing, that means it's just going to be more upsetting to people.
I know.
You know, I talked to a lot of people when they were getting the $600 checks, and people were just like thrilled. Like, they were living a life they hadn't lived before. All these people had been making shit money, and now they were getting what a living wage would be.
Yep.
And now that's going to be gone. How do you think that's going to work? Like, and if you don't have a popular answer for that, if you don't have, a socialist answer or some sort of answer for people, well, then you're going fascist. Those are the choices, and they're setting us up for pure fascism.
Yeah, because here's what's going to happen. Like you said, a lot of people are like their unemployment benefits were better than their crappy job, which shows you how. And the unemployment was not great, but it shows you how crappy the jobs are in this country for most people. And so that unemployment is going to run out in September. Now, maybe they've been paying their rent, maybe not. If they've been paying their rent, okay, they're still back to their shitty job. How are they going to, that they're still back to barely getting by? That's the people who were paying their rent with unemployment, right? Yeah. Now about all the people who didn't pay the rent, like unemployment wasn't enough or whatever. What's going to happen to them? And all these, real commercial real estate and regular real estate and the rent bubble and all these things we've been talking about, that's all going to come due. Then what? And so this country is going to be faced with, maybe finally people will like really rise up and realize we're in class warfare. It's not Republican versus Democrat.
But I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so either, because
I mean, we sat through this and we saw the mile-long car lines and we saw all this shit and nothing happened. Like everyone's just, hanging out. Not the lack of anger is, like I said this on our podcast, like Eric Garcetti shouldn't be able to drive through the streets of Los Angeles without people throwing fruit at his car and just trying to run him off the road. Like, he's done a terrible job and killed people because of COVID. He's just done a bad job. And nobody cares. Everyone just goes about their business. And it's just like, I don't think I used to think that there was a level of anger that would rise up, but now I just don't think it's a thing that's going to happen. I think that we're Brazil, right? I mean, that's what we become, because there is apparently there's no bottom to the shit that we'll take. We'll just keep taking it, and people getting kicked out of their houses, and then there'll be shanty towns, and everyone just be like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Like, I just don't see any fight back from anybody. The only fight back we've had is Black Lives Matter, and that's because they're literally fucking killing people.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, I mean, this just seems like, putting.
And even that got put to sleep by Obama when the sports leagues went on strike. And that was the moment. I talked about this with Justin Jackson, because he told me he was an NFL player. They had a scrimmage set. He goes, the NBA, the Bucks went on strike for a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was on strike. There was like 3 days. And I remember going, this is the moment. This is it. Like, you couldn't escape it. And I said, a lot of, because sports, you know this, you're a sports fan, that there's people from all walks of life. And look, there was, I know there was All Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter people watching like Doc Rivers cry and stuff like that. And it was powerful. And they were probably like, man, maybe my sports here, maybe this isn't right. And if the leagues, and it was forcing white America to like really, because it was George Floyd, and then they shot Jacob Blake in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, this was forcing white America to go, wait a minute, man. And now there's not even sports. You don't even get the reprieve. Oh, if sports is back, yay, everything's not as bad. No, we're shutting it down. It's forcing you. And Obama comes in and everyone goes back to sleep. And I remember, like, you and I would talk all summer and into the fall leading up to the election. You and I both thought like there was going to be what happened on January 6th. I thought that was going to happen around November, and it was going to last for 2-3 weeks. And it was going to be a full on civil war. And then even when January 6th happened that morning, I was like, oh man, this is going to be awful, a gunfight, and it's going to spill out and all the state capitals. And this is it. Nope. They went in, they took selfies, stole a podium. and
I mean,
like
some of them tried to kill some people, but not enough.
They tried to, and then they weren't met with force. If Black Lives Matter would have done that, they would have been mowed down in the Capitol. And then there's some outrage and stuff. And okay, the FBI is arresting people. Okay, fine. One of them is a guy we're friends with. But but I agree. I thought, I remember when you and I were talking a lot about it, we're like, man, America's going to collapse. It's going to collapse. They've just kicked the can down the road financially. Americans don't get angry enough to really rise up and do anything. They're easily like quelled. They're easily like,
they get played by their masters. The
so
Democrats are just amazing how much they get played by their fucking masters. Like they all act like they think better and they want healthcare for everybody, but then Pelosi comes out and says, we can't do it, and they all go, we can't do it, and that's the end of that. Like, it's just like, it's fucking amazing to watch. Like, how long do you have to sit in shit before you get mad at the people who are supposed to be your politicians? Like, when do you get mad at them? When do you get fucking mad at them?
I don't know. 10 years. We've had 10, 11 years. No, the financial crisis was 08, but 08, 09, 2010, those years were like really bad. So we're talking at least 10, 11, 12 years of like, that didn't do anything. Occupy Wall Street didn't. Edward Snowden, like none of it. Trump was going to wake people up. And I thought there was going to be this thing. And I remember you and I talked, and we were both like, there could be this crazy, it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse. And then we both kind of, at different times went, or America's just going to limp along. Like, we're like, if Biden wins, they're just going to limp along.
But we don't have a lot of time to,
no.
If people want to have like a big overthrow or whatever the fuck we're talking about, we don't have a lot of time, because if you look around the country, Republicans are stripping voting from everybody everywhere. This was for me, and you brought up Trump, and we thought that would be that was always Susan Sarandon's thing. Like, well, that'll fucking wake people up. That actually isn't. And people were like, Susan Sarandon was wrong. And you're like, yeah, but that's not the problem. The problem is she was wrong because she had too much faith in the American people that they would not sit in shit. And they decided to sit in shit. And so when you think about that moment of like, when is this going to flip? And I always go back to that Susan Sarandon thing, because I had the same sort of thing. I had that same idea of like, well, if Trump does get, and I didn't want him to get elected. I was one of those people that were like, this guy's fucked. And I didn't, I think Hillary would have been better. I always said that just because he's a fucking psychopath. But the other part of me was like, well, if he does get elected, people will fucking, it'll be this big come to moment. And it wasn't. It just wasn't. And that lays on the Democrats for not putting up an actual fight about what this should be and how we should change things. And I don't know what it will take. Like, think about everything we've just been through with like you said, the housing crisis in 2008, all the way up till now. I mean, what is it going to fucking take? I don't know. I don't think there is a thing anymore. I think that we just sit here and we stew in it. And my other big thing about Hillary losing, the silver lining was always for me, well, the state houses are incredibly important. And when 2020 comes, if Hillary loses and Trump in there, there'll be a massive reverse and Democrats will take over tons of state houses. And then we'll be able to reverse all the gerrymandering and all the shit. And what did they do? They ran Biden, and down ticket Republicans swept everything. And it's like, well, there you fucking go. So even my silver lining turned out to be shit.
We all had this. I wasn't happy Trump won either. I didn't vote for Hillary, but I was like, God, Trump's awful.
You don't need to. You live in California. You don't need to vote for anybody.
No. But we all had this sort of like, Americans are going to really wake up, and you saw more people get involved politically. You saw more stuff and you're like, okay. And then, Bernie, but the Democratic Party didn't own it. They didn't do a reckoning. Democratic voters didn't want to own it. And they just said, Trump bad. And then the Democratic primary, there was literally Bernie, Tulsi, and Mike Gravel were the only people that it was like, that was the only shot we had. Gravel had no chance. And Tulsi quit, and Bernie never reached out to, he didn't, the Bernie campaign was just mystifying to me. But, and then as we talked about, he just quit a year ago, and that March 15th debate was his opportunity to say, I'm the guy to lead us through this. And that could have been Bernie, this socialist revolution. Everyone would have been like, yes, get it. Socialism. Now we need it. He could have ran that the whole summer. Capitalism has killed us. I'm going to give you socialism. I'm going to give you free healthcare. I'm going to give student debt forgiveness. And everyone would have gone, yes. And you're not Trump. Great. Love it. And you're right. It's just like we keep expecting these.
We expect people to wake up,
and they won't. They just won't. They're not going to. And there's people waking up, watching this show, watching your show, Jimmy. But that's it. And God bless those people, but there's not enough of us. It's the sad reality is we are politically homeless. When we all get together at a live show, when that opens up and I see that those are great, those live shows, Jimmy's show, your show, Ron and I's, though, they're great shows, but there's not enough of us to do a goddamn thing. There's just not enough. And the Democrats are part of the deep state, just like the Republicans, and they're going to get somebody like Bernie to sheep herd progressives. And everyone's going to cheer in the streets when, a rapist, warmonger, and the guy that wrote the 94 crime bill and the woman that put 100,000 black men behind bars gets elected. And they're going to go, that's it. It's like, America doesn't want to learn. They're like addicts who are gonna, and this, and we've talked about this, like when someone's an addict and you try to get them help, you try to get them sober, and they just keep making the same mistake and they're blaming everybody else. They never take responsibility for themselves. You just have to get out of the way, because otherwise they're going to take you down with them.
Yeah. There's a real, the real problem is that our system of government is a failure. Like the way it's set up, and Chile was the exact same government and it fell after 150 years. Like these presidential republics don't last. But like the pragmatic belief system is what leads us here. And to me, the greatest example of that is go read what Ralph Nader wanted. to do as president, and then think about where we are. And he was considered this heretic, lunatic, fringy guy. And if we did everything he wanted, we wouldn't be here. There would be no Trump. None of this would have happened. And the person who was supposed to be the reasonable, pragmatic one lost because he fucking sucked. But also, he wouldn't have done anything to change this. We're on a path to fascism, and the lack of recognition of that is incredible. And they just think, well, we voted out Trump, so now it's gone. It's not gone. It's look at what they're doing in all those states, all the Republicans. It's not gone. It's getting worse. This is just increasing. They're increasing their power. It's power by minority rule. You can't have pragmatism to slowly change things when the minority rule is happening. It's minority rule. It's taxation without representation. There is no pragmatism when it comes to that. There is fucking figure out how to stop it, or they end up increasing their minority rule. That's it. Those are the two options. So what do you do? I don't know what to do anymore because nobody wants to do anything.
I know. It's like, and then even like force the vote. Like Jimmy comes out and says, hey man, you know, if I said something bad about, forgive me, I'll forgive you. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And Cenk and Sam Cedar were on board initially, and then that happened.
Sam Cedar's fascinating to me because, you know, for years he was going after Jimmy, and the thing about Jimmy with that thing, he went a little too far with the yelling and it upset people, and I totally fucking get that. He's also mad, like everyone should be mad right now. But the thing that's fascinating to me about Sam is, and I think I've told your audience this before, but when during the Trump Hillary election, I talked to an MSNBC producer, and he told me flat out, MSNBC is pushing for Trump because they want him to win the primary, and then we, MSNBC, will take him down in the general election. And that was an MSNBC producer saying that to my face. And when I watch people like Sam who go off and, you know, attack Jimmy all the time, I always think, you're part of a greater evil. I mean, I get that you think that Jimmy's doing damage or whatever, and whatever, you can have that opinion. I don't give a shit. But you're working for a really bad company. Like you're going on the air with the people who helped give us Trump and a war machine. Like you're part of a network that is full of intelligence guys and military guys, and Brian Williams almost having an orgasm when a missile flies off into Syria. And so I just don't know what to do with that. Like so Jimmy's the bad guy in all this, but then people who support that are the good guys. Again, it's bigger picture shit. Like what
no one hears it.
Fuck is happening in that circumstance? Like anybody who is associated with MSNBC right now is a fucking piece of shit. Like you're part of something really bad. And we saw that during the election. I mean, dude, when Bernie won, was it New Hampshire? MSNBC acted like it was 9/11. Chris Matthews lost his mind so much he got taken off the network. Yeah. Joanne Reed was practically fucking crying on air. Like she almost couldn't talk. Why would you want to be associated with that? How are you on the left if you're fucking associated with that?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I mean, that's the thing. There is no, I mean, this is, and they refuse to see it because they've been so duped and propagandized. They don't even realize. I remember watching one of Rachel Maddow like a year or two ago was doing a segment on Russia. And it was literally sponsored by Boeing. I was like, is nobody sees this? Like nobody it's
just so much bigger picture stuff. And it's like, yeah, a lot of what's happening now in this country is because we're giving all of our money to the fucking military industrial complex. Like, what is it? 750 billion a fucking quarter or some shit. What? I don't know what the amount is, but it gets re-upped all the time. Like, oh, they just did another 750 billion. And it's like I get that people don't like when people yell at our politicians and stuff. Like, okay, that's fine. But man, bigger picture shit. Like there's a bigger fucking animal out here that is really fucking bad. And I think the left is just eating itself alive. I think that every time I go online, leftists are screaming at each other. And it's like, you need to not be able to like the other people on the left and all work for a common good.
And they're doing
You
the
just
bidding
need
of the ruling class. Like when everyone went after Jimmy, I said, congratulations, big pharmaceutical companies. Thank you. Like you're helping prevent Medicare for all. So that, 7-year-old girl that had to have a lemonade stand to pay for brain surgery, you helped make that happen. So congratulations.
Well, I can understand the argument of that from a strategic standpoint. If you want to make the argument that wouldn't be a good thing, okay, I can meet you and have that argument about whether or not it's good to push for a vote. I think it would be a good idea to push for a vote at that time. But I also am willing to talk to you about it's not a good idea. But that's not what it was about at all. It became about personalities and everything else. And now that everything is past and we've had some time, I think what the squad was looking for didn't happen. I mean, Nancy Pelosi shouldn't be speaker. There's no reason they allowed her to be speaker. They also allowed they could have put up a stink and stopped the COVID bill and said, we need a minimum wage or this isn't happening. I don't know when they're going to use their power to do stuff like that. To me, that was bare minimum. Just say, well, no one's getting anything until you do a minimum wage, and put it all on the fucking West Virginia and those other fucking, just put it all on them and go, no one's getting anything because these motherfuckers, and see what happens. Just fight the fucking fight, man. Just fight it. Fight the goddamn fight. I'm not going to yell at them. Like that to me, the thing is like, it doesn't matter if you fucking yell at them or not. Like worse than me. I'm just endlessly disappointed in them to the point that I didn't want to yell at them. Like I don't, Nancy Pelosi shouldn't be speaker. They could have lopped her head off. Would have been the best thing they could have fucking done. And then just fight. I mean, David Sirota was saying that when the bill was going through, he's like, the fucking squad should step up and stop it and make sure there's a minimum wage increase and say, that's our bare minimum. That's our bare minimum. How is that not our bare minimum? It should just be our bare minimum. I don't get it. And so I just watch it and I don't know what. It's another reason I'm totally, besides people not rising up, like we did put these people in there and I'm just not seeing very much. I think that the bill Biden passed would have been a lot worse if there wasn't a lot more leftists in the country, and they are responding to that a bit. But as far as programs over a long period of time,
there's nothing, and they're never going to, I was a big proponent of the squad. So were you. And I have nothing. I have no faith in them at all. They're not going to do anything. They're all talk. They're going to send out amazing tweets. And, AOC has 12 million Twitter followers. She is one of the most powerful people in Congress. She could send out one tweet to say, everybody show up and protest because we want this. We demand Medicare for all right now, this day, this time. I'm going to be there. Demand it. She won't do that. And so like, don't yell at them. I fuck off. I mean, like you and I watch pro sports. Like how many times have you seen the home team get booed because they're playing bad? People say, fire that coach. He sucks. And that I agree with. But I just think that the mindset is such that if you yell at politicians, it's almost a negative, not because you're yelling at politicians. It's because the response of people is so crazy to me. Like no one's my friend who's in office. I know.
No, I'll yell at anybody. I mean, when Bernie supported SESTA, the thing that fucking made it so hard for sex workers and made them go back on the streets and shit, I was fucking screaming at him. Like, I'll fucking yell at these people.
Yeah. When
they do shit that I don't agree with. And also, if you're a politician, people are going to fucking yell at you. Like, that's the fucking game. Like, it's just,
get out. What it is. You can't handle it.
Like, but I just think the problem is that other people, other leftists can't handle it. And and now we have, look, whatever we want to say, whatever Jimmy started, it ended up creating a giant rift. And whether it was right or wrong, I personally think it would have been a good move. It still ended up a huge negative. And I don't know, is that the way Jimmy handled it? Is that the response? Like, it's just a whole mix of things, and it's super fucking complicated. But at the end of the day, we're a headless monster. We don't have any leaders.
Yep.
And no one's guiding us. And so we're all attacking each other. I mean, I probably shouldn't have said that stuff about Sam Cedar, but my brain can't wrap itself around how much MSNBC is part of the military industrial complex and how much they push Trump and how that is, people act like that's fine. Like, my brain can't wrap itself around that.
Nope. Sam Cedar's not on the left. He's not a progressive. He's just a propagandist for the war machine. I mean, like, I
don't know what, I don't watch him. We had a big fight 6 years ago. And I stopped talking to him and I blocked him. So I don't pay attention to him at all. I just know I watched him attacking other leftists all the time.
That's his job. I mean, that's what MSNBC does, which is the behest of the corporate Democratic establishment, which is crush progressives, crush them, either get them to acquiesce, because AOC and the squads have all been promised something. That's why now it's mama bear time, because they've all been promised something.
I don't know if that's true. I really think you get in there and it's like a brain distortion thing happens. I think that you get in there and over time you're like, this is how we do it. And they just slowly work you. I mean, it's almost like a cult. I think they just fucking work you until you think this is how we do it. And you keep doing that thing. The one who really fought Katie Porter, fought the Democratic establishment, and the result was she's no longer on the finance committee. Like,
right.
She went toe to toe with them and she lost. That's what we need. But I don't feel like they sold out or promised anything. I think they just became part of the machine.
I think it's part of that. I bet you they dangled something in front of AOC and said, "Oh, 2028, you'll be VP," whatever. Maybe. I mean, but I agree.
It's just like they dangled shit in front of Elizabeth Warren and she fell for it all during the campaign and then got her ass handed to her. I mean, talk about someone getting fucking played. Like, you could see that a mile away.
Oh, I know. They gave her nothing. Like, unreal. Well, all right, dude, before you go, where do you see this? Like, how do you, I mean, I had this conversation earlier today with Ron Placone. I mean, like, there's days where I see little victories, little local victories, and I go, oh yeah, maybe this, maybe that. And maybe we can build a socialist Hollywood. And, and then there's days I'm just like, good luck. Like, this place is done. I'm going to protect myself because I'm sick of yelling into the wind. And, I feel like I'm going to the beach with a dustpan trying to clean up sand. Like, it's just, America's doomed to fail. I don't know.
Someone asked me the other day why I'm only attacking Democrats. And I said, well, number one, I think they're a big part of the problem and they need to fight back. But number two, it's self-preservation, because I think that this country is going to fall into fascism. And when they look at my record, they'll see me attacking Democrats. Yeah, based on what we're seeing in all the states around the country and how they're taking away all the voting rights and just stripping shit. Unless Democrats get rid of the filibuster and go fucking balls to the wall, this ends up no way except in fascism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how it can. I mean, everyone needs to understand they're fucking crazy fascists. It's my kid. They're crazy. The Q shit, like half of them believe it now. So get ready. In 2022, there's going to be 60 QAnon people in Congress. Like, this is going to spread. It just gets bigger and bigger. It's part of their mainstream. And that's fascism. Like, fascism is the cornerstone is conspiracies and love of military and hate of brown people. And we're there, man. And the fight isn't enough. Like, you could like, the biggest thing to stop fascism is Medicare for all.
Yep.
It would just calm so many fucking people down. You and I talked about this years ago when we went on Will's podcast. We said that Obamacare will squeeze the middle class and it will cause all kinds of turmoil. And it has. It squeezed the fucking middle class. And so I don't see any way out of this because I don't see anybody who's going to step up and fight for it.
No.
At least we need the Democratic Party to fight, and they're not fighters. They're just, they're doing like passing Cobra stuff, and like it's all band-aid surfacey shit. And they need to drop a fucking nuke. They need to make Puerto Rico a state. They need to make DC a state. They need to pass a really strong voting rights bill. They need to fucking come hard and hit, and they don't have it. And so I don't know I don't know. I don't see any way out of this myself.
No,
I mean, if you could tell me one.
I mean, the only, and this is like the sliverest of hopes of just like, if the People's Party can get some momentum and get some people in Congress and the Senate in 2022, that could do it. But it's a small little party and it's hard to get off the ground, and the left loves eating itself. So they'll try to eat this. I don't know. I mean, unless there's like some big defections, like if Nina Turner were to win and then leave the Democratic Party and join the People's Party, and then some big name people defected. I mean, this is real fucking Hail Mary pass.
Yeah.
Shit.
The People's Party is, it's too late. It seems like to me that it's too late in the game to do this. And also, when the Jimmy thing happened and everyone took sides, they went with Jimmy, and a lot of people got mad at him. As a party, I thought that was a really dumb move, because you kind of got to stay out of that shit. And I know they wanted it, but it's also like, if you see the left fracturing and you want to be a new party, you just lost a bunch of people. And they went pretty hard. I was watching it. They went pretty hard. And right or wrong, that's when you talk about pragmatism. Like, maybe don't jump into that one. Is that what you want when you're building a party?
I don't know. I mean, I get just like, we're for Medicare for all, so we're for force the vote. Like, to me, it felt very much like we have a simple platform, and so we're going to fight for this. And I don't know that being that hard on Jimmy is going to be the thing that would, dissuade people from getting involved with the People's Party. It'll just be if they don't have the money and the organizational, if their infrastructure isn't there on a grassroots, on a street level. That's what kills so many organizations. There's a good idea, there's a good couple of people in charge or whatever, but then if on the street level, if it's not being organized, I don't know. I mean, if they win a seat or two, then that could really change things. Yeah, but again,
how much time do you have?
I know, not much.
The way I see this playing out is 2022, the Republicans take over the Senate and the House, and they impeach Biden.
Yeah. Well,
right.
He's not going to be there. I mean, I don't think Biden makes it to the end of this year health wise. I think Kamala's going to take over at some point, because his cognitive decline just keeps getting worse and worse. And he won't finish his term. There's no.
He won't. I haven't been paying attention to him at all. Is he not?
He doesn't know where the Pentagon is. So,
that it's somewhere in Washington, D.C.
That's fair. Commander in Chief doesn't need to know exact, whatever. Like,
I mean, we all saw it during the election. We knew what he was. I mean, it is what it is. And the long-term game plan was always to have Kamala take over. But, the Republicans aren't, they're not interested in democracy. And
no.
Pragmatism is playing the democracy game with people who are trying to set you on fire. Like, it's just not how you fight this. You have to go hard at them as they're going at you and try to salvage something. And so whoever's in there, they're going to impeach at some point. I mean, they fucking impeached Clinton over a fucking blowjob. Like, they don't give a shit.
They tried to impeach Trump twice, so the Republicans are going to go, now it's our turn. I mean, like, they're going to say, this is our turn, and it's just going to be impeach. Anyone they don't like, like Newsom, who I don't like, but they're trying to recall him because, anyone who gets in there, the other party is going to try to impeach or recall or whatever. And the Democrats are going to get cleaned out in the midterms. And then the Republicans, if they aren't successful with the impeachment, they're going to run a charismatic ideologue. Trump was just an idiot. He didn't have the ideology nor the cunning of like a dictator. If he did, he would have used November. And I mean, what he would have said, I'm not leaving. and we'd be in a full-blown civil war right now, and Trump would still be in power. Like if he was like cunning, like a dictator, like historically has been. So they're going to run someone that's going to be like a charismatic Mike Pence, who's this, evangelical nut job, but he's not charismatic. It'll be somebody with that type of ideology, but charismatic. And
he'll probably come from show business. It could be Tucker Carlson or something really just crazy. It could be a podcaster or one of these fucking YouTube dudes who are on the right. Like the door's wide open. There's no more like, is it a politician? It's the door's wide.
It could be Owen Benjamin. I mean, it could be literally like it could be Vince Vaughn. It could be anybody, like any sort of psycho like that. It'll be Candace Owens. I mean, like they'll run whoever they got to run, and that person will be nuts and evil, but smart and cunning and diabolical to unite people in a. Trump just said, me, Trump, I'm the best.
Yeah.
That's all he knew how to do, was be a narcissist. He didn't have any long-term plan. He didn't have any Machiavellian instincts or anything like that. This next person will. And the Democrats are going to go, yeah, but we gave you pragmatic centrism, and Americans, the economy, as we talked about earlier, the economy will have collapsed. The stimulus will have run out. The bread lines will be longer, and Americans are not going to wake up and rise up. They're going to be fighting with each other, blaming this party. It'll be when the economy goes belly up, Democrats, college-educated liberal, former friends of ours in show business will be blaming it on Trump. And the right will be blaming it on Biden, and neither of them will see that the whole system's broken and it's Wall Street and the billionaires that have fucked him. America refuses to swallow that pill. They just don't want to. They just don't want to accept that they're in class warfare. And so they'll keep allowing themselves to get divided, distracted, and afraid. And there'll be some new boogeyman, some new monster, some false flag from Iran. And we got to ramp up the wars because they're coming. China, Russia, whatever. It'll be one of them or all three. And America will just sink into fascism and implode, and it'll just keep eating itself. And meanwhile, by the way, the environment's still collapsing. Just a little FYI. So
that's always the thing that's in the back of my head. I remember do you remember when the Tea Party dudes took over? They rolled into Congress and everyone was like, "Oh, this is bad." And the Republican plan was like, well, we'll invite them in, and we'll slowly co-opt them and sort of, let them see all the gold and jewels that we can get by being in Congress, and they'll see the light. And then they brought them in, and they didn't see the light. They stayed ideologically driven in this right. And they weren't even the bad ones.
I know.
Now the Q people are coming, and they're like, what if the Tea Party people were crazy? Like, it's like,
yes,
it's like the next wave of like, holy shit. And it's just like, what the fuck do you do with that? Like, what do you do with that? They're all, I mean, in states like Arizona, they condemned, or whatever they did. The actual Republican Party condemned McCain's wife for not supporting Trump. Like it was like an official condemnation by the party. Like, you're just like, man, this is going to get fucking crazy. And so I don't know what to do with it. I don't know. I don't see any solution. I would love it if people had a solution. Like, I would love it. I mean, if Sam Cedar had a solution, I would follow him into the fucking ocean. You know what I mean? If anybody had a solution,
sure,
I would be like, let's go fucking do this. But I don't see anybody with a solution to what this is. I mean, there are people on the left who have no power who are saying what the solution is, which is give people material goods that they can survive on, and maybe you'll and then of course go out voting rights and do all that stuff, make a couple of places states. But I don't see anybody really pushing for that stuff, and so I don't know I don't know.
There's no leader, and so there's no plan. I mean, and the things that we keep saying would help: Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, blah blah blah. No one's the people in charge aren't listening. They don't give a fuck. They're not going to do it. And the Sam Cedars of the world are going to say, yeah, those are great, but now's not the time, like, or whatever their thing is. Like, we'll wait till there's a worse pandemic.
Now's not the time is the only is the main talking point. And I'm hearing it now from friends who are liberals. We shouldn't push too far left. And you're like, okay, well, any reasonable plan is now, quote, too far left because we're so far right. I mean, we're talking about sending our kids to fucking die. Like, How do you want this to go?
It's America's gone insane, literally gone insane. It's an insane asylum, but good luck.
I wish I could sit here and be more positive for people, because people are always like, well, you're a doomsayer. And then I have a bunch of people who always come back to me and go, man, I thought that thing you said was really crazy. And when you said it, I thought it was fucking nuts. And then it turned out to be true. And I'm like, yeah, but you always call me a doomsayer. And then I say things and you go, that guy's out of his fucking mind. And then it happens and you come back and you go, oh, you were right about that. And I say something else and you go, no, that's crazy. And I'm like, oh, that's the pattern. That's the pattern. And my thoughts aren't genius. They're just leftist thoughts. That's all they are. That's why they're coming true, is because we keep being right.
Yes, I know. I don't fucking read tea leaves. I just listen to lefties and other people, and like just Wall Street economists, particular with the economy, going, you can't print this much money and have nothing happen. Like, it's not like these are all. And so I'm just like, okay, the UN report comes out in 2018. We got 12 years to fix climate change, or that we're doomed. Okay, it's 2021. I'm not crazy. You told me about this, and now no one. And it's like, the only thing that I have any sort of like positivity. I mean, I say little local victories, and I say get involved locally. That's great. And then I say buy Bitcoin, man. That's your chance to get the fuck out of. I'm telling you, man. Like, when it hits 500,000, $1 million a coin, you're gonna go. And I've already had fans go, Graham, thanks for telling me. Thanks for telling me. I go, just buy fucking Bitcoin. Start learning about crypto. Buy some of the other coins. And if you do that, you will find it.
Then what about the environmental impact of crypto? Like, then you have that problem. Like, we're environmentalists, and then if you jump in, it's this weird spiral where self-preservation means getting in on something like Bitcoin, but then Bitcoin is fucking up the environment. It's such a fucking.
Well, here's the thing, and that's true. I mean, yes, there's a big power drain that absolutely. I mean, nothing is worse on the environment than the United States military. So there's that. But also, Bitcoin was created by a person or persons that were geniuses. So there's a solution out there. In the meantime, you got a Bitcoin mine, just put some fucking solar panels on that thing. There's I think the answer to that, and it's a legitimate concern of cryptocurrencies in general, is the power drain of the mining. It's a legitimate concern, but I think there's enough, like there's already green energy that can be applied to it. China, which has a lot of Bitcoin mines, is already addressing. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're coming. They've already launched their own digital currency.
I didn't know that. I know.
Yeah. They in fact gave a bunch of people in this town 25. They gave out $15 million equivalent to people. Like, they gave everybody $25 on this app to just go use it, try it, go buy some coffee or whatever, and see what it's like. And people are like, oh, cool, just to get people used to it. And so they've already started to, because they've have a huge smog issues and stuff like that. But China has been, since 2015, has been out building green energy. So I don't know. I think that solution is it's already there. That solution is there. People just need to embrace it and put the money into it. And I think a lot of the Bitcoin early adopters that are now Bitcoin whales are like, all right, well, I have the money because I bought 20,000 Bitcoin at 5 cents a piece in 2009. And I'm seeing more of them get into and address the environmental issue. So I'm not as worried about that personally. It's a legitimate issue and deserves to be discussed, but I feel like the solution, people are already like addressing it. But yeah, the only thing I'm happy about is my crypto portfolio.
Yeah, it's really weird to be a lot. There are always periods of time where everything falls apart. We're still better off than people in Europe in World War II, right? And people in Europe in World War I. Like, there are periods where everything fucking falls apart, and you have to live through them, and it's fucking rough. And we're in it. Like, America is, every single part of America that you look at is run wrong. There isn't a part of America that you look at and go, well, that's doing pretty good. It's just not. I mean, name one thing. Name one fucking part of America.
Wall Street.
The economics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wall Street, schools, like our healthcare system, our political system. What thing is going? None of it. Like it is just a system that has been obliterated by corruption. The minute that dude in like the 1910s or 20s wrote in the margins, and he wasn't even on the Supreme Court. He was just a clerk or a reporter, and he wrote in the margins, corporations are people. It's all led here.
Right.
And now it's corrupted every single part of America. Like every part of America is undermined by corruption, people trying to make money off of shit. And it's just, I always think about this. I always think about what thing in America is going well. Schools, colleges are fucked. I mean, your educational system is run on football. You think crypto's bad? Your educational system is running on football. Like, it's just what the cops, our military. What is the thing that's going well? Can you name one thing?
For-profit prisons are going great.
Like,
it's
the way our agriculture system is just a fucking disaster. Like water is now being purchased by what is the thing that's going well? Yeah. I always ask people this, and no one gives me an answer. Name a big thing that a society is built on that's going well in America, that's constructed well. It's a trip when you get into it. Oh, someone wrote porn is going well. That's right.
Porn is going very well. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's really crazy when you start to think about it that way. It's quite the brain fuck.
No, it is. It's like when I was in Russia, they were like, the quality of life in Russia has gotten better in the last 20 years. And it's largely due to Putin. Now there's plenty of stuff to criticize Putin on, but they're like, from the mid 90s when it was chaos, when Yeltsin, who was an alcoholic that was propped up by the West, was in there, and the Soviet Union collapsed. It was nuts. The Russian mafia it was mayhem. There's people ODing in the streets. It was mayhem. Everybody's life is better. Can anyone in the West say that? Can we say that? As our lives got better in the last 20 years? Not mine personally. I mean, this YouTube thing's cool. I mean, there's some cool things I've done. Oh, I've surfed, I've traveled, but I lost my home. There went my retirement. I have shitty healthcare. I mean, nothing's better. I can't point to anything and go, it's a lot better. I mean, the cost of living is higher. We haven't fixed any major problems. We haven't reversed climate change. There's no big nothing. It's just like the homeless problem is worse in LA from when I moved there in 1995. Everything's worse. And it was all worse before COVID.
Yeah.
Like
now it's 10 times worse after COVID.
10 times worse. So it's like,
there's just tons of our life expectation has gone down a year for white people. It's like 2 years for Black people and Latinx people. Like
infant mortality rates have gone up. We're like we have the worst infant mortality rates of any industrialized nation. Yeah. We have third world conditions in America, and we have, again, before COVID.
Yeah. I mean, before COVID, UN inspectors came through and were like, oh, holy shit, this is worse than any third world country in the fucking world. Like, that was before.
Yes, before. And now it's worse. So where can people go listen to the dollop?
We are doing a live dollop on Thursday night. If you want to, we do a live one every couple of months, and you can only see it live. So it's buy a ticket. It's a live show, and I think it's up for 48 hours after, and then poof, you can never hear it again or see it again.
Nice.
And we're trying to do visuals and stuff. So that's the main thing. I'm also on Instagram. I don't really go on Twitter anymore because I can't handle the fighting that's happening. It's hard to watch. That's about it. I'm not really active on any social media. I am considering, tell me if you think this is a good idea, that guy Greg, who is the school board member, I'm considering starting a Twitch in which I play his videos from the school board meetings and talk about it.
Oh, dude, you have to do that. You absolutely, that is a must. That's, you got it. I don't know. I don't even know how to use Twitch, but I'll sign up for that. Like, dude, you got to do that. You have to do that. That's the greatest idea I've ever heard.
Because he just goes off on these big speeches and they're so fucking dumb. They're like George W. Bush dumb. Like it's just crazy.
Dude, you have to do that. You do it. Everyone in the chat is going, do it. Play do it. Everyone in the chat's telling you to do this.
Yeah.
This is a must.
I gotta figure out how to do Twitch, but I think that would be fun. I'll probably do that.
Ask your son. He'll tell you how to do Twitch.
He probably would in a second.
Oh, well, dude. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It was great to talk to you. Of course, if you want to watch Dave and Gareth compete in the Political Vigilante Game Show, it is only available at patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. The premium level.
So fun.
It was a blast.
It was so fun, by the way. That game show was a blast.
We just laughed our asses off, right? Like we just laughed our ass. Every week I've done 3 of them now, and we just laugh our asses off. It's so much fun.
You should watch them. They're really great.
I'm hoping when things open up, I'm going to make that into a real TV show on a soundstage with an audience and just do it.
Yes, it's great. Yeah. That's good.
I'm going to just do it. Like, I don't care if I got to finance it myself. I'll use all my fucking crypto money to do it. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going to just do it because it's just too fun.
What a fucking perfect, what a perfect crypto guy. He makes a bunch of money off crypto and then blows it on a fucking game show. That is just so a modern day idiot.
What a moron. Like, why don't you just buy fucking gold plated slippers? Like, what an idiot. It's like buy a live tiger. Like, what are you doing? Just blow it on a game show. Oh my God, that'd be great. If it's just this fucking $100 million money pit. I don't know. We needed more buzzers. Or just like, I just shit it away. God, that'd be awesome. I can't wait to do that. Well, all right, dude. Thanks for taking the time to come on the show, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, buddy.
I would say good times, but this was just depressing.
Yeah, well, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much a bummer. Thanks for bumming everybody out. Really appreciate you coming on the show. And, you know, everybody check out the dollop on Thursday, I guess. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.